Guitar Studio. I'm Dave, and in this video I'm going to take a bit of a look and a listen to this, which is the latest incarnation of my pedal board. I've had a few boards over the years in terms of like the physical board that the pedals go onto, and quite a few pedals have come and gone. Generally, there's a few pedals up once I've got them, they tend to stay. A few kind of drift in and out, but this is kind of the way the board's looking at the minute. Now, my previous board was the first one I tried actually building myself as like a custom one to fit everything that I needed, and it had a couple of things that I particularly wanted to include. Most importantly, was this thing up at the top, which is like a little patch bay. So all the cables from the amp went in one side, and then all the board was plugged into the other. So it was very easy to unplug and take it around different places. Problem was, I learned a couple of things from that prototype which weren't quite right. Firstly, that patch panel took up quite a lot of space, particularly with the power supply as well, which is quite a big power supply. And also it was like stepped, so there was like 2 levels to it, which is okay, but really I realised that what I wanted was something that was at an angle. So this is the board as it looks now, and that patch panel is now built into the board itself around the back, and the power supply I was using the famed DC-200. That was quite a big power supply, and to be honest didn't have quite enough outputs for me, so rather than using daisy chaining, I've retired that and I replaced it with 2 Sub-Zero Polaris, or Polaris Sub-Zero, I'm not too sure which is the manufacturer and what's the model, but they're quite a compact little power supply, and they're tucked away under the board. So all that there is on top of the board is the pedals themselves. Okay, so for this I'm just going to use a Fender Telecaster. It's a good frame of reference because everybody knows what a Fender Telecaster sounds like, and I'm plugged into the PV Valve King amp 50 watt combo. Currently, this with no effects or anything on, it sounds like this. So let's have a look underneath the board and talk a little bit about that patch panel and what that's all about. So the idea with this is I can just unplug things from that patch panel on the outside of the board, and then the board's completely portable. I don't want to be messing around if I want to take the board anywhere, actually unplugging pedals or anything. It's a lot neater. I can have the pedals laid out the way I like, and then all the cables connecting to the amp are in that patch panel. So basically what you've got on the outside are the connectors to go to the guitar or the amp, and then they're connected through to some jack sockets on the inside of the pedal board, and then those are connected up to the pedals themselves. So the connectors have got an input from the guitar that goes into like the pedals on the front of the signal chain, then into the amp. The next one is a little TRS connector, which is for the foot switch for the amp for channel selection, and then we've got a send and receive for the effects loop. What those are doing, it'll probably be a lot clearer once we start playing around with the pedals, so let's get started with that. Probably the best place to start is up here on the top right hand corner with the TC Electronic Polytune, which is a tuner pedal. So the guitar's plugged into the pedal board, and then from that input, the first place it goes is the Polytune. So if I just strum all 6 strings, it tells me that my bottom E string is slightly flat. It's a nice clear display. I can see what's going on as I'm tuning the guitar up. So that's the Polytune. The cool thing about that is when you're in tuning mode, it kills the signal to the amp, so you can use it as a mute and people don't have to listen to you tuning up. So that's first thing in the chain. Rather than go through the rest of the pedals kind of in order, I think it probably makes more sense just to talk about the ones that kind of like there all the time, that the fundamental part of the sound, and then talk a bit more about the ones that kind of get switched in and out. One pedal that's on pretty much all the time for me is the reverb pedal up in the top left hand corner there. This is the Boss RV6 reverb. It's a bit of a Swiss Army knife pedal. It's got lots of different types of reverb, so hall, room, plate, and so on, like the traditional reverb sounds, plus a few more modern creative ones like modulation and shimmer type of effects. So I just usually have this just in the hall setting. Just to give the sound a bit of space. I find it's a little bit dead without the reverb. That just kind of brings it to life a little bit. Like I said, it's a really useful pedal. It's got some nice creative sounds on it, so For example, the shimmer sound, like this. So not one that I particularly use as part of my general sound, but I do use it now and again for quite useful little soundscapey type things. But most of the time, it's just on the whole set. Another pedal that's on most of the time for me is the TC Electronic Flashback digital delay. So this is another one of those Swiss Army knife type pedals. It's got a lot of different type of delay sounds on it, from standard digital delay, modelling, analog delay, tape delay, and so on. Generally, I have it on a setting called the dynamic delay, which is based on one of the classic TC Electronic 2290 delay sounds. Just quite a short delay and a few repeats. Again, just to basically thicken the sound up and give it a bit more texture. I tend to use the dynamic delay rather than any others, because the dynamic delay is quite nice in that it doesn't come in too much while you're playing, but when you stop playing, the delay tails kind of get a bit more prominent, so it doesn't muddy your sound while you're playing, but when you stop, you get a nice decay, which is really nice. The other pedal which is on pretty much all the time is this one. It's the BBE Sonic Stomp. It's a really difficult pedal to describe. It basically just makes your guitar sound better. It does something crazy with I think the phasing of certain frequencies. The best way to describe it is, if you think about how your guitar sounds now with the Sonic Stomp, it's like you remove a blanket from in front of the speaker and the whole thing just starts to sound a little bit more live. Quite a subtle pedal, but quite effective. So that's basically on all the time. So the layout of the board's quite intentional. That the pedals I switch the least frequently are the ones at the back. So there's less chance of them getting knocked if I'm jumping around on pedals while I'm playing. So while we're on the clean channel, let's talk about the chorus pedal. So this is all of these these four on the top row are in the effects loop. So the chorus pedal, this is the Boss CH1 Super Chorus. Just a nice subtle modulation, just to add a bit of wetness, a bit of texture to clean sounds. Don't use it all the time, but it's really useful to have it there. Okay, what to talk about next? Let's talk about the compressor, the MXR Dynacomp. This is a pedal I got fairly recently. I've never really been a compressor player, but there was something I was trying to do, and I thought, yeah, compressor would give me the sort of thing I was looking for. Compressor is another one of those effects. It's quite subtle. It doesn't change the sound dramatically. Obviously you can turn the controls up fairly extreme and make it a little bit more prominent, but it's not going to change your guitar sound the way like an overdrive pedal or a distortion pedal would. So this is the sound of the guitar without the compressor. So as you can hear there, it's not a particularly prominent sort of sound, but it is there and works quite well with the Telecaster. It's one of those classic guitar sounds. I think the Telecaster and the clean channel with a bit of compression. Okay, so that's the compressor. Down the right hand side, this is the Boss FS6 foot switch. So this is a dual foot switch hooked into the amp for channel switching. Now the way it should be working is we've got a TRS cable comes out here, That's a tip ring sleeve, so I can control two things off the 2 foot switches. The way I've got it set up here though, is the A switch gives me the channel switching, so I can go from the clean channel, the dirty channel, back again. But the pedal, as well as the single TRS connector, it's got 2 mono connectors, so you can use the switches independently. The way my amp works, the B switch is effectively like a drive boost, which I wasn't really using, and the most recent pedal I got was this Boss JHS Angry Driver, which has got a couple of drive sounds on it, and depending on what mode it's in, you can use an external switch to control some of the pedal's behaviour. So what I did was I kind of hijacked this switch with a mono cable going into the Angry Driver. So this is actually a master on-off switch for this pedal. So just on the clean channel at the minute, that's how it sound. Press that, now this pedal comes on. So this is like I say, it's a dual mode drive pedal. So this is with the blue LEDs currently giving me the sound of like a Boss Blues Driver. Yeah, I've got the drive set relatively low on that. Turn it up a little bit. But the mode I've got this in at the minute, I can switch between that, which is the Boss Blues Driver sound, and this one, the LED goes red when I press the foot switch. And that's the sound of basically a JHS Angry Charlie drive pedal, which is a bit more aggressive. And there's loads of different modes on the pedal itself. So the setting I've got it in here is basically switching between the Blues Driver and the Angry Charlie. I could set it just as a Blues Driver and then this becomes an on-off, or just an Angry Charlie and this becomes an on-off, or I can have the 2 pedals together, so this is basically the Angry Charlie into the Blues Driver. So that's, in that case the foot switch switches it off and on. And the LED is like a purple colour, so lets you know that you're running the 2 pedals together. The other setting is Blues Driver into the Angry Charlie. Or we've got the Blues Driver and the Angry Charlie in parallel. So that's the same drive level and tone settings on all of those. But as you can see, there's quite a variety of sound. But the mode I tend to use most often is like individual Blues Driver or Angry Charlie pedals, and then just controlling which one with the foot switch on the pedal and turning it off and on with the secondary foot switch. Okay, so that's my most recent drive pedal. Another drive pedal that's been on the board for quite a while is this one. It's the Full Tone Plimsoll. It's like a 2-stage overdrive pedal, completely different sound to the Angry Driver. So whereas the Boss pedal's got a bit more top end to it, the Plimsoll's more into the Tube Screamer kind of category, where it's a lot more mid-range voice. And lastly, sort of going into the front of the amp, is the Black Star LT Boost, which is basically a clean boost pedal to just raise the signal level a little bit. So on the clean channel sounds like this. So it's a bit louder. But if you get the gain turned up a little bit more, it starts to push the amp into overdrive. So even on the clean channel, you can start add a little bit of break up there. And also it's got the EQ on there, so you can boost the boost the bass or cut the bass and the treble and whatnot. Okay, so there's lots of different drive tones there, combination of the clean channel on the amp and the dirty channel on the amp, and then switching in certain drive pedals. So I'll just muck around with a few different combinations so you can hear how they sound. So that's a bit mad, having the dirty channel on the amp, plus the higher gain voice from the Angry Charlie, plus the plimsoll, plus the boost. But the reason I've set those all on, I wouldn't want that as a guitar sound. That would get a bit too overdriven and mushy. But it's a good way to demonstrate what this pedal's doing. You might have seen it flashing away while I was playing before. This is the TC Electronic Sentry. This is basically a noise gate, and what this is doing is cutting out noise from the sound. Now, I hadn't really had much use for a noise gate in the past. I tended to play humbucker guitars, even when I had a Strat, that one there. Didn't really have much trouble with noise on that one. But this one, the USA Standard's got slightly lower output pickups, so I tended to turn the gain up a little bit more. And just a natural characteristic of single coil pickups is you get something like mains hum. It's just a characteristic of the pickup. And a noise gate was quite a useful way of getting rid of that sound. So what it's doing here is I've added a lot of gain to the sound, a lot of drive pedals stacked into drive pedals, but you can't particularly hear anything. If I turn the noise gate off though, you start to hear a lot of noise. So what that's doing, it's horrible. Basically the guitar signal comes into the Sentry, then goes out on a loop and through these pedals back in again before going out to the amp. And what this is doing is just measuring the signal coming in, and if I'm not playing, the gate is shut so you can't hear anything. When I am playing, you can see the light goes green, the gate's open and the signal's getting through. So is the noise, but it doesn't matter because I'm playing and the sound of the guitar is kind of drowning out the sound of the noise. So it's a useful thing to have. Like I say, it's a bit of an extreme demonstration because I don't normally have all these drive pedals on at the same time. Okay, so one pedal we haven't talked about yet is this one down the bottom left hand corner, the Moore Micro Looper. So basically it's a looping pedal, it records what I'm playing and plays it back. Don't use it so much in songs and performance, but it's really useful as a teaching aid. So if I want to demonstrate something, I can record a quick chord progression as a backing track and then play over the top of it. It's really simple, easy to use, so I can do things like this. So that was just playing my backing track, and then I can play over the top of it. And if you want to get really creative with that particular pedal, you can record multiple loops on top of each other and all that sort of thing. But like I said, generally I just use it for laying down a simple backing track. In terms of the signal path, I'm fairly traditional. So basically, plugged into the board here, signal comes into the polytune, and from the polytune into the Sentry. Then on the loop from the Sentry, the compressor, the drive pedals, back into the Sentry's return, and then from the output of the Sentry it goes into the patch panel and off to the input of the amp. Then on the effects loop, got the effects loop coming in here, and then that's plugged into the chorus, and then from the chorus flashback flashback into the reverb, reverb to the looper, and then the looper into the sonic stomp, and the stomp goes to the patch panel and back to the amplifier. And so that one in the middle is hooked up to the foot switch here for changing the amplifier channel. So the layout of the pedals on the board doesn't necessarily reflect the signal path order, particularly for like the stuff that's in the effects loop, but it's just where I find it's the easiest for switching. Okay, so that's my pedal board as it currently stands. It's not intended to be like an exhaustive demo of any of the pedals themselves. Some of these I have done full demos and reviews elsewhere on the channel. If you have a look at the playlists on the PhatPhish Guitar Studio channel on YouTube, you'll find links to those. One or two I haven't got around to reviewing yet, but I'll get around to doing those in due course. Okay, I hope you found that interesting. If you did, please click like down there. If you really enjoyed it and you want to be notified of any other videos that I've posted to the channel, and if you click on subscribe, then you'll get notified. If you want to leave a comment, you're more than welcome, but if you've got a suggestion for a future video or a question about pedals or music, guitar in general, anything like that, then it's probably better if you go here, fill the form in and send your question in, and I'll try and get around to answering it in a future video. That way it's a little bit more reliable than leaving comments, because YouTube's not always very good at letting me know when people comment on videos, so if you leave a question down there, it might go unseen and unanswered. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video sometime soon. Bye for now.